What's the dumbest thing you've gotten in trouble for in school? I reported someone for attacking me with a hockey stick in the gym. I got in trouble for provoking him by telling him to stop stalking me. Was once told if you say another word you will be sent to the principal's office. Do you understand? I replied yes, and was immediately sent to the principal's office. Literally nothing. I was once given detention for no reason, and when I asked what I did wrong no one had an answer. I got to detention for being late to class because I was finishing a final in another class. Had a note and everything. The teacher hated me, was out to get me all year. She finally had me. The class I was taking a final in had a sub that day, who no one could track down. Conveniently, the teacher also said I didn't have a note. Conveniently, so the principal said he had to go with her and give me an in-school suspension for a day. Mind you, it was finals week, on my last week of my senior year of high school. So it was all half days. So on that day I show up. The detention teacher shows up. It's my track coach. What are you doing here? I explain the story. The principal shows up shortly after to check and make sure everyone is here. My track coach walks over to me after he leaves, hands me a piece of paper and says bring this to another teacher in this room. On the note it says sentence served. Walked out and went to a class that was having a party. For correcting a teacher how my last name was pronounced. In 7th grade, I yelled the word shrimp really loud right as the entire cafeteria went quiet. Apparently the teachers thought I had been stabbed. Good times. I was reading a book in the back of the room after finishing an exam and my homework and turning it all into the teacher. He told me that school is not a place for reading books. Got a detention. In my private middle school we all had cubbies in our homeroom to keep books and such. I never saw the need and kept everything in my backpack all the time instead. Eventually I started renting out my cubby to another student in exchange for one lunch token per week. They would keep their overflowing personal belongings in there and I would get double lunch once per week. My homeroom teacher eventually shut it down and gave me a demerit for misuse of cubby. In the 9th grade, I was asked by my French teacher to shut the window because it was too cold. I shut it, but it didn't want to fully latch. So after a couple of attempts I shoved it down harder and it clicked, but made a loud enough noise that it disturbed the class. I got detention. Getting punched in the arm and chest by a kid a year younger than me. Then walking briskly to the admin's office because the teacher wasn't around and getting detention for getting out of line. It escalated from there to me calling some teachers idiots for giving me detention and resulted in a 500-word essay on respect and detention. In 7th grade, I got detention for not speaking because the teacher thought we were making fun of him with our eyes. I'm running a 99% average in this one college class. Some dude with a 50% attendance record copies my work, and I get dragged in for plagiarism. Suck my balls, lowlife and professor. I got a book confiscated in 4th grade because I was too young for it. My parents had to call the school to get the teacher to give it back, and she advised that she wouldn't have had to confiscate the book if I just read something appropriate for my age level. My dad responded by sending me to school with Dracula. She didn't take that one, probably to avoid another phone call. Edit. The book was a kid's version of Midsummer Night's Dream. I got sent to the principal once for not saying good morning back to a teacher. Having a friend, I had to stay back after class and she told me she was intimidated by how good of a friendship I had with my best friend. Considering I was such a rich, her words, she couldn't imagine someone like me having a friend. Detention for walking from one classroom to another, literally directly across the hall from each other, without putting my jacket on. Wasn't even from either of the teachers. It was from a third teacher who happened to be standing in the hallway at the time. When I was in grade 4 this girl Nicole kept hitting me with her bandana during class. So I waited till she swung it at me again and grabbed it. Of course that's when the teacher looked over and sees me stealing her bandana. I got sent out of class and when she came to talk to me in the hallway wouldn't let me tell her what actually happened. Still irks me 18 years later. In middle school, we had a bunch of bullies that pretty much harassed anyone who looked like an idiot. That is, me. They called themselves the Four Horsemen. Anyway, My parents and I had complained to the administration about the constant embarrassment and pointed out that a lot of the harassment was happening during lunch, where our assigned seats put me with 2 of them on either side of me and 3 of them directly across from me. Yes, they had problems with the name. Anyway, the brilliant administrative solution was to put a stool behind me and sit an administrator on it who was in his 70s. He sat with his back to us and often snoozed. One of the kids loved punching me as hard as he could with an extended knuckle or with one of those big hiking clips in between his fingers. He tagged me really hard in the arm once, and it hurt like hell. So, I picked up my trapper keeper and slammed it down over his head, bending it into a U shape. The guy turned bright red, but nothing else happened, because that was the exact moment the admin had decided to wake up and turn around. In 7th grade science we were doing an experiment using tuning forks, but we were only using the tuning forks as weights for something. That's public school for you. My teacher came over and gave my group our tuning fork, and I hit it on the side of my desk to make it make the sound. Note, this is in fact the purpose of a tuning fork. My teacher made me leave class and then yelled at me in the hallway about how it was disrespectful for me to hit the tuning fork because I could have broken it and the school didn't have money to buy new ones. TLDR, I got in trouble for using a tuning fork for its intended purpose. One of my friends, that's the key word for this, dropped their phone leaving class, so I pick it up with the intention of giving it back to him. Before I can get his attention, our teacher stops me with the all sudden firm hand on the shoulder. He swears I was about to steal it and sends me down to the vice principal's office. I'm giving my side of the story and the VP wants to bring down my friend to talk to him, but he got taken home early. What happens to me? VP goes with his gut and gives me a week of detention. 2 ducking hours a day after school. One person at my lunch table wouldn't stop talking when they were supposed to be quiet at the end of lunch, and then the whole table including me got in trouble because of him. In 6th grade someone called me a lesbian and I called them one back. They went and told the teacher I'd called them a lesbian and I got sent to the office. Had a note sent home to my parents who weren't quite as angry due to the fact that both myself and the other person involved were both guys. We were just at the age where any insult concerning homosexuality was considered a sick burn. Got in trouble for having a condom in a little bag that also contained tampons etc, which was in my school bag. One of the girls, since I only opened the bag in the girls' bathroom, must have told a teacher for some reason. Teacher said I was a slut. I replied, well, if I'm a slut then isn't it a good thing to have a condom? Detention for talking back. I got detention for telling the art teacher 2 girls were throwing pencils at each other's faces. They were fine. I had to eat lunch in her room for a week. For graphically describing female genital mutilation during a presentation, causing a girl from my class to faint. I was homeschooled and my older brother let me tag along to the park down the street from our house so he could play basketball with some of his friends. A teacher comes out and starts yelling at me for not being at some activity for the school next door. My brother and his friend step in saying how she's wrong and how I don't even go to the school. She tries to give 4 high schoolers and a elementary schooler detention for a middle school that none of us attended. I sat next to the class clown in the 8th grade. Dude was hilarious by 14-year-old standards, so I laughed a lot. Whenever he got in trouble, I got in trouble with him because I was encouraging bad behavior by laughing. I never got after school detention before 8th grade. That year I got multiple fun times. I farted super loud in an all-male PE class. I was sitting Indian style with my sweet little 13-year-old ass firmly pressed against a wooden gymnasium floor. This made for an abundantly loud blast of ass laughter which resulted in the teacher being interrupted and me getting sent to the dean for a detention. It was in primary school and we're designing and making clay plates. The teacher put images of plates with designs on a screen so we could get inspiration to make our own designs. On the screen I saw a picture of a plate with another plate on top of it and thought it was cool, so I asked the teacher I could make 2 plates. She then starts shouting at me saying, "Do you see your image with 2 plates?" I didn't respond because I was embarrassed at being shouted at in front of everyone, but I was pretty angry. Giving my friend the rest of my chips during lunch. Wearing a top that showed my shoulders. for saying the word crap during a math activity. 7th grade in the 90s. The teacher was in her late 30s and thought the word crap was cursing. So she sent me to the principal's office. I had never been sent to the principal's office and was scared shitless. Turned out the principal thought the teacher was ridiculous and sent me back to class with a gigantic eye roll. I'm a teacher now. The kids at my school shout duck and the N-bomb in the hallways all the time. Times sure have changed. I remember a substitute teacher sent me to the principal for tattling on 2 kids that I had to work on a group project with in 6th grade. They weren't doing any of the work with me because I was the smart one of the group. Their words. It pissed me off that they were just trying to flatter me into doing the whole thing by myself, so I went and told the substitute since our actual teacher was out that day. I never complained to a teacher again about anything and learned that group projects suck. This will be lost but I don't care. It's been nearly 20 years and it still pisses me off. High school physics class. Teacher was Ms. B. She despised me. I wasn't a troublemaker. I didn't have attitude. I was just not very good at memorizing formulas and utilizing them on tests. Needless to say, I did not turn into someone who uses physics for my job. Anyway, about mid-semester I've got a solid low B in the class and we have a test. We take the test and miraculously I got a mid-A. I was pretty happy with that result. So imagine my surprise when I am called into the principal's office and accused of cheating because I scored too high for my grade to be legitimate. My mom goes back and forth with the school and my teacher, asking for any evidence. They couldn't provide any, but they insist that I must have cheated to achieve such a good grade. The kicker? It was a multiple choice test. If I didn't know the answer, I simply guessed on an answer that was close to the math I did. Eventually the teacher decides to have me retake the test. I've had enough of fighting, so I agree. I get to the class for my retest and am handed a completely fill-in-the-blank test. Needless to say, I did not pass the test and for the rest of the year I had zero energy to invest into physics. Teachers, if you want to make a relatively smart kid totally write you off, make them feel dumb for simply trying. To Ms. B. What you did was dishonest and uncalled for, and one of these days I sure would love to remind you of how you belittled me simply for doing well in your class. I never liked cupcakes, so I lied that I was allergic to them when it was another kid's birthday. They made me eat the damn thing. When I was in kindergarten I was drawing on my desk with my pencil eraser and the teacher saw me. She punished me for defacing my desk and made me stay in for recess with my hands raised above my head as punishment. I was 3. For having headphones around my neck, I had forgotten to put them away after getting off the bus one morning when I was in the 7th grade, and my school had a strict no headphones policy that I thought meant you couldn't actually be listening to them for that rule to be applied. But no, they meant headphones couldn't be actually worn in any capacity. So even though I had what were essentially little earmuffs around my neck, not even on my ears, I got a Saturday detention like some duck in Breakfast Club kid. I was so pissed. Raising my hand when the teacher asked if there were any questions. My little sister was in 2nd grade. She jumped in a puddle of water. During recess, I got detention for not handing in my homework the 2nd day at a new school. So my mom goes in and talks to the teacher. Well, she forgot to sign the detention slip. I got another detention for not also notifying my parents and having them sign the first detention slip. Didn't matter that she talked to my mom about it. Edit. Spelling. When I was in 5th or 6th grade I wrote an article for the school paper and the teacher accused me of plagiarism, which was not true. My mom defended me. I didn't even know one could plagiarize. I was just a voracious reader and I guess ended up being a good writer. Now I write for a living. Screw you, teacher. There was a guy in my school who had created an anonymous hit list of people he planned on shooting when he came to school. My name was number 1 on that list, making the administrators think that I somehow was the one who came up with it. Almost got expelled and almost got murdered. Cool. Not bullying someone. I just didn't really talk to this girl at school. I didn't not talk to her either, if that makes sense. Looking back, I guess she was teased a bit. She claimed things like, boyfriend at another school who was the captain of the rugby team. Small city, large town, we all knew each other. Claimed to live in a penthouse apartment in a skyscraper. The tallest building in town was 5 stories. Teacher pulled me aside saying it would mean a lot if I was her friend. I had to sit with her in class and partner up with her for projects for a whole term. If I didn't sit with her at lunchtime I got told off by the teacher. I was 13. It did not build a friendship. Drinking root beer. It came in a brown bottle and was convinced I was drinking beer. In the middle of class. At 8:30 in the morning. I was 12. That was a stupid trip to the office. Got a detention in middle school because this boy kept throwing pen caps at my chest to try and get them down my shirt. I got fed up and said stop it. Kid's name. Teacher gave me a detention for disrupting the class. Kid got nothing. Finishing my water on a hot day on a school trip. It was insisted that I get more but I didn't have any money. Someone else tried giving me another bottle but the teacher stopped her. The teacher dragged me around the other students on the trip to beg money off them. Didn't even use second water bottle. And the girl who tried giving me a spare water bottle got detention. Wearing black nail polish. It was Halloween and I wanted to be festive. But my teacher sent me to the office because wearing black nail polish is for hookers and devil worshippers. For taking apart the Lego car which I thought had to be dismantled after we'd finished our experiment. It wasn't anything particularly impressive. The teacher hit the roof, though. Looking back, it does somewhat concern me just how much rage the teacher showed at the time. I wasn't even 10 years old, and he went absolutely ballistic. He's retired now, and I never did hear about him battering any kids, so I suppose no harm came from it all. He did also apologize later in the day, but it was quite something at the time. Not dumb, but I thought it was innovative. Our school, public US, charged students $100 for a parking pass. If you didn't have one, there was literally nowhere to park your car within half a mile or so. So, me and 3 friends put $25 in each and got one. We went to Staples and had them copy the parking pass, just our school logo with parking pass written on it, onto clear, adhesive paper. We cut them out and sold them to students for $30. We sold probably around 200 or so. Obviously the faculty was confused as to how so many cars had parking passes when the school had not sold many. Eventually they caught wind of our escapade and pulled us to the office. They demanded we give the school all the money or else the cops would be called. We said we spent it. No cops were called. We got suspended for a whole 2 days. We sold parking passes on the low the next year as well. I think it was 3rd grade. We got these coupons for free hamburger from a local McDonald's at Christmas time. On the back they were stamped with the location where they could be redeemed and it had the general manager's name DL. Well, I am sure you can fill in the blank yourself, but my friend and I filled ours in. I chose less. He chose lick. The teacher saw us laughing and we got in school suspension for a week. What has troubled me ever since then, and this early 80s, of all the ways to abbreviate a name, why did that guy choose that way? I threw a cracker in the air and caught it in my mouth. Yes, I caught it. I didn't miss. And I still got in trouble. Another time, someone threw a banana at me, so I tossed it back at him, not hard, and I got in trouble for throwing a banana lol. I was once given detention for wearing a bandana to school. Their reasoning was that it could promote gang activity. We were in grade 7 and my bandana had rainbow soccer balls on it. Started at a new school midterm. Spanish was the second language. I had been learning German at my last. Was given detention for not being able to do Spanish homework from my first lesson in Spanish. 2nd grade. Accidentally sneezed on my friend while talking to them, so I began frantically wiping their arm off as I had essentially spit all over him. Teacher saw me and thought I was hitting my friend or messing around, so I had to be on a warning through our classroom behavioral system for the day. In 5th grade a bunch of kids kept fake coughing and sneezing to mess with our teacher. I, being the sick one in the class, had to actually cough and got in trouble for it. 2 hours detention for coughing. Sub told me not to do the work because class was about to end, and then wrote me up for refusal to do my work. I swear my teacher was a ducking psychopath. I used to attend a small school that had a driveway that led up to the teacher's parking. One day, Mrs. Edwards comes screeching in the driveway and plows past it. Kids go running for their lives. However, she must have spotted me in the crowd with my skinny little legs. By recess, I'm yanked from class and placed into the principal's office for detention notice. My crime? Running in front of teachers' cars and deliberately playing chicken. Duck you, Mrs. Edwards. Duck you. In first grade I spread glue over my entire desk so the next day I could revel in that awesome sensation of peeling it off. And right before class ended my teacher sat right on my desk and probably ruined her pants forever. Even though her name was MRS. Bear I didn't get into too much trouble. I was playing in the snail garden. Yes, my school had a mini garden just for snails, and a stupid boy jumped on my favorite snail and crushed it. A few days later we're playing with chalk outside in the playground as part of our art lesson, and I decided to draw a tombstone and write RIP Snail's name in giant writing on the floor. The snail happened to have the same name as one of the girls in my class. She burst out crying thinking I was going to kill her or something, so my teacher took away my chalk and sent me inside. I thought I was doing a nice thing to remember the snail, but my teacher thought I was lying. I hated that school. After PAIM in second grade, our teacher dismissed us early, but he didn't take us back as a teacher, just told us to leave by ourselves. We were doing PAI on the field, which just so happens to be in between the playground with like a jungle gym and monkey bars. I left a bit late to help the teacher out by putting the equipment away. So after that, I was walking back by myself and I saw a few of my friends playing on in the jungle gym. Although we were dismissed early, I thought it would be nice to get lunch faster and go play outside again. So I climb up to one of the playground's equipment and told my friends to get off, which they did thankfully. After finally entering the elementary school, we were greeted by the principal, who said that I out of all people was ducking playing in the playground without supervision. She was like, I could recognize you because of that stupid hat you always wear. I didn't do jacket, WTF. I was literally telling the other kids to get out of the playground, yet I'm the one who got into trouble? Feels badman. None of my friends who played in the playground got into trouble, and I had my recess time taken away from me and was forced to reflect on what I did wrong.